this computer. All right, good. We should be good to go. All right.
Awesome.
So this is going to be episode 3. Today we got Matt Cordasco. Sorry, I totally butchered that.
No, you're good. Cordasco. You're close though.
Almost had it. So let's just jump right into it. Why don't you give us a brief background on your musical journey, where you got started with music, and how music's played a part in your life?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, music has been a part of my life as early as I can remember. I just always resonated for some reason with music, even back when I was a little kid. I'm 29, so I was really young in the 90s, and for whatever reason, pop music, boy bands, Spice Girls, all that stuff was huge at the time. And for whatever reason, I just kind of was infatuated with like pop music as a little kid. And from there, it was just like kind of natural curiosity that grew. I picked up a guitar at the age of 12 and immediately just kind of fell in love with it. And from that point, it was like a steady slope of learning production, singing, songwriting, to where I am today, which is kind of a litany of everything put together, essentially.
Yeah, I saw that. I was checking out your page. It seems like you definitely have a lot of different areas where you got the guitar stuff going, and then you got the beats going and singing and all that stuff.
Which is good, but at the same time, it's kind of hard to focus, at what the content should be, or what the main focus of, as a brand. For every artist, you kind of think of yourself as a brand. I know when, promote and stuff like that. So that's really where the trouble is fine tuning that to what the focus should be. And that's still what I'm trying to figure out, I guess.
Gotcha. Can I ask, what would you say if you had to get rid of one thing, what would it be?
That is a tough question, man. So I do go by the pseudonym Penn as well. So for a period, I was releasing music under my own name, mainly like pop records that I was producing, mixing, writing, singing, whole shebang myself. If I could get rid of anything, I think it would be the mixing and mastering aspect of it, because it is a long process, and I do everything myself, from engineering to writing, mixing, mastering. So if I could get rid of one thing, I think that would be something I'd like to send out of house for someone else to, work on for me.
Yeah. That's, I did the same thing. Like when I first started, I basically started about a year ago at this point.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I kind of had a similar story, because I've been playing guitar for 8 years, but I started writing my own instrumental music basically a year ago at this point. And at the beginning, I was like, I need to be in full control and do all the mixing, mastering myself and all that stuff. And I did end up switching, because it was I wanted to spend more time just focusing on the writing,
the creative aspect. Yeah.
And then also I don't know if this sounds bad, but it's I felt like I would still be in control even if someone else did it.
I totally get that. And I think that's the part of a good mixing and mastering engineer, is to really take your vision and the things that you want highlighted and really exemplify that, So if they take it and they can kind of mess up your vision of what you want the song to be, I feel like that they're not doing their job correctly.
Totally.
Just my opinion of it. I think their whole job is to assist you with having what you hear up here be, what's coming out of the speakers.
For sure. Yeah. So when did you start going from, say, just playing guitar, right, to actually going into composing and really getting your own stuff done?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, it's weird to say, but I feel like I've always heard melodies and kind of song ideas in my head, even from before I actually picked up an instrument. So I feel like it was kind of a natural progression, where when I picked up a guitar, I taught myself by playing along to my favorite songs and learning by ear that way. And it just naturally turned into me being curious about messing with different chord progressions, and then just naturally hearing melodies and turning songs out of them. It's hard to say when exactly that happened, but it felt just kind of like a natural progression of going from, I'm learning how to play my favorite songs, but what else can I do with this? What can I creatively use as an outlet? And then at that point, I actually was in a pop punk band for a little bit in high school, I think Fall Out Boy, Blink-182 kind of. So that was really where I honed in more on songwriting and really the aspects of that craft, for sure.
Totally. That's so I kind of feel like a fraud at times, because I don't hear music. I hear other people in my head, but I never hear music that I want to write. For me, it's
please. it's don't call yourself a fraud or everything. I know with music, it's so weird, the creative process, and everyone's different.
Yeah,
So I mean, there's no right or wrong way. Just for whatever reason, music just always resonated with me. And even from hearing something else, it could like shoot an idea for me, like coming up with a melody or something like that. But please don't think you're a fraud or anything like that. I mean, there's no wrong way or right way to make music.
totally. Yeah, it's so cool how you mentioned that music resonates with people. It's something I feel like it's like I wish like everybody was like that, because then it like
Yeah.
do you feel like you as a person would like make more sense?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people don't understand, when
Yeah.
I say that, or things that related to music. But at the same time, I feel like music could be kind of like a universal language. I feel like everyone loves music,
Totally.
whether it be whatever genre, but it's kind of like a uniformity within, different cultures and everything like that, which is something I love about music too. It's, you could have differences in, religion, culture, all these things, but you could all like the same song, and be at the
Yeah.
same concert, just enjoying it. So I think that's something to appreciate too.
Yeah. That's totally the case. It is
Yeah.
absolutely universal language.
Sorry if I'm going all over the place.
No. That's kind of what I want to happen. You know what I mean? I
Yeah,
love
yeah,
like talking about this stuff. So,
of course.
um, you kind of transitioned, you were in the band, you did that stuff. How did you find the band experience to be? Because I've been in bands of my own. What did you find there?
Yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts on that too. I enjoyed it, honestly, because I think even more so now, being that I do everything myself, you kind of take for granted having multiple people and multiple perspectives, because like I said, being a do it myself, I'm really my only source, of critique until something's released, basically. I mean, I'll play something for my friends, get their takes, but in the creative process, there's really no one else, which can be good, but also can be bad. So, being in a band, it was nice where, I was doing rhythm guitar and singing, and, we had a lead guitar player and a drummer, and we would all collaborate. So there's definitely different perspectives and ideas that are mixing together that makes the end result so much better than if you were just doing it on your own,
Yeah,
I feel.
totally. There's
And of
there's
course, there's going to be drawbacks with that. If you're stubborn on one idea and someone totally disagrees, there could be that other end of it as well. But I enjoyed that process. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I've definitely been in both sides of that situation, like the
Yeah.
stubbornness and like when the chemistry's working really well, you're just like,
Hmm.
oh, like this, it never could have happened if it wasn't like all of us, you know?
Yes.
So
Yes.
it's definitely like the double-sided thing there for sure. For sure. Um, I would say personally, I think I do like the solo thing a bit more.
Mm,
I would say that I would prefer to be in that situation, but I
sure.
do think like the band process is just awesome as well.
Yeah, there's definitely pros and cons to both, and I think it's the people you work with that's important too. People that are on kind of the similar wavelength and same idea of what you want the end result to be. Because, like you said, it's that chemistry aspect where it just kind of like naturally happens when you're working with like-minded people. It's crazy. How you could just think of something from midair, but at the same time, working on your own, exactly, you're kind of in control, and you don't have anyone else to answer to in terms of your ideas and what you want to achieve.
Yeah, totally. Totally. It's an interesting thing. So
Sure.
what are some things that you find really motivating and particularly inspiring? Are there any artists who's like it's even like beyond their art, just like even like their life story is kind of
Mm.
a way too? Do you find
That's a
people like that?
great question. Yeah. I mean, it's really controversial to say now, and I think you probably know who I'm going to say at this point. And I don't agree with him as a person, but as an artist, Kanye, even from a young age, yeah. I mean, it's you always have to preface that now when you mention anything
Right.
about Kanye, but from a young age, his music always resonated with me. That's how I actually got into like hip hop and that area of production and music. And his story, he was an only child. Parents were divorced, and I came from a very similar situation, so even that layer of it kind of resonated with me. And just
Mhm.
him leaning fully into his creativity and just not really answering to anybody, just making the music he wanted to make. And at the time, it was a struggle for him to be appreciated as a rapper, but he believed in himself and made his way to being the artist that he's adored as, not as a person for his
Yeah.
beliefs at the moment, but as an artist. He's made so many amazing albums and, you know, countless accomplishments. So that's definitely someone that motivates me in that regard, is just having that focus and that goal, which, you know, as I mentioned, is something I'm still kind of working on. But, you know, I feel like he always had that end result and knew exactly who he was and wanted to be, and wasn't going to uh, alter that vision for anybody.
Yeah, it's so cool that he did the whole, like, he was a producer, beat maker, and everybody tried to like hold him there, and he was like, no, this,
Yeah.
I'm telling you guys who I
Hmm.
am. You know what I mean? And
Exactly.
then he
Exactly.
walked down that road, and like, it was, the thing is, like, he was the only one that could really see it, you know, and then
Right.
but he believed it, and that's sick. And I also
And I think, well, I'm sorry, what were you going to say?
I was just gonna say, like, I think his music's phenomenal. Like,
Oh, yeah.
I went through a Kanye phase probably like year and a half, 2 years ago, where I'm like, this is the best thing ever. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like there's a Kanye album for everybody. You know,
Yeah.
any there's an album for everyone that can resonate, and I don't think you could say that about a ton of artists. So, you know, it's a shame what's going on with him currently. You know, and we don't have to dive into that, but strictly as an artist, he's definitely someone that I've resonated with for quite a while. I think for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. He's I would put him in the same boat. Definitely someone in terms of in terms of an artist, definitely someone that I would find inspiration from.
Yeah,
To segue a little bit,
sure.
I guess I kind of touched on this earlier when I mentioned the how music resonates with you, and like not everybody is in that same boat, where it's like,
Yeah.
what are your thoughts on kind of being like the music guy, like the music
Mm.
guy, and then people around you are like, oh, what? Like,
I think, as I'm sure you understand as well, for people that don't create music, it could be a very foreign concept and something very strange to a lot of people, you know,
yeah,
or they don't really understand the work that goes into turning an idea into a finished product. And not even just the musical point of it, but, you know, as an artist releasing it, the promotion, you know, you have to have some marketing savvy, you know, social media skills to, you know, properly promote something. So I think a lot of people don't really understand how difficult it can be to actually release something and, you know, start something from start to finish.
yeah,
I think a lot of people, and that's not saying that, you know, people that don't understand, you know, are completely wrong, and, you know, or you know, downplaying musicians, but it's something where if you don't experience that and really go through that process, it's a hard thing to understand, I feel, for a lot of people.
yeah. I could totally see that. And then it's just like, it seems like sometimes it'll be like maybe a song doesn't do super well or something, but
Hmm.
you get some feedback, and then people might just like write it off as like, oh, why did that even matter? But
Yeah.
it might just because it's like, you know, that was an expression of myself, and even though maybe it didn't hit a ton of people, like a few people that could have connected with, and like
Yeah.
that's a lot.
I
And it
think that's
happens,
ultimately
you
our
know?
goal, you know, trying to connect, and it's, you know, it's a vulnerable thing, you know, and I think a lot of people kind of overlook that you're putting a piece of yourself out there into the world for other people to critique. And that
Yeah,
could be like a super scary thing, especially if people don't like it and you put so
yeah.
much time into it. So, I mean, it's such a tough thing, you know, you have to, I feel, have, you know, tough skin, be able to take criticism, and really just enjoy the process,
Mhm.
honestly. You know,
Do
it's a tough thing.
Yeah, for real. Do you ever find like a little bit like do you ever feel like you're a little bit too self-conscious? Because I deal with this too, where it's like there's stuff where it's like the song will be going in like a sad direction, and I'm like, oh, I don't want it
Mhm.
to go there. You know what I mean? I don't want that,
Yeah.
like, the vibe, but it's like
Oh man,
I guess that's
that's
an inevitable course of things.
man, you're speaking to me right now with that. I can relate to that so much. I know it's kind of like a cliche thing to say, but I do feel like I can be a perfectionist a lot when it comes to my music, and nothing's ever good enough. And I think that's part of building experiences, creating music as well, is realizing it's never going to be completely perfect. You know,
Yeah.
it's that's a skill in itself, is knowing when something can be considered complete, because you could spend years tweaking it and, you know, going through hundreds of snare drums to find the right one, and kicks, and, you know,
Mhm.
instrument sounds, but it's never going to be perfect. So I think it's having that intuitive thought that, okay, you know, I've done as much as I can with this, and I need to just release it.
Yeah.
Um, and I think also, like you said, if a song is kind of going in a sad direction, but you don't want it to go that way, I feel like, and this is just my personal take on it, I've been more accepting of letting the song be what it wants to be. You know, like kind of if I'm going in like, all right, I want to make like a song that's upbeat and happy, but it kind of goes in more of a sad direction, I'll kind of like embrace that now, as opposed to being like, no, like I have to go in this direction, you know?
Yeah, that's me. I'm still fighting that battle where it's like, no, we're turning around. We're doing something.
It's a tough battle, man. And especially if you have like a thought in your head that you wanted to achieve, you know, if you see it's kind of going in a different direction, it's hard to kind of fully be like, okay, I'm going to take it here now.
Yeah, it's so interesting how it's like you'd feel like that if maybe someone listening from like an outside perspective would think like, oh, you just hear the thing in your head and then that's it. But it turns into its own thing. You know what I mean?
It could be, you know, one idea that sparks it, and you had one thing in mind, and it turns into something absolutely completely different, you know? And even a song I created actually kind of took a route like that. It was a song I put out a few years ago. It was called Tell Me Lies, and it was under my name, not the Penn pseudonym. And I had the full thing recorded, did vocals, and it was like a slower R&B song. And when I got like the final master for it, I wasn't happy with it. I was like, this doesn't feel right. And what I ended up doing is taking the acapella and building like a whole new instrumental under it. And it turned into like a completely different song that ended up being released than what the initial final product would have been.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting how something could start somewhere and go in a completely different direction by the end of the production.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. It's like, do you ever feel like sometimes things will happen where it's almost like a mistake? You know what I mean? It's almost as if like you didn't even do something on purpose, but then it ended up working in a weird way. Like sometimes I'll like accidentally like drag something into the wrong spot. And then like it's like,
oh, this sounds better. Yeah. I
Yeah.
think of Bob Ross, Happy Accidents.
Exactly. That happens to me constantly where I'm like, well, I guess that did it, you know? That totally works. Totally works.
And I think that's great because it's something where I feel like you shouldn't take it too seriously. You know, if you make that mistake, but you end up liking it, you know, it's just fully going into it and committing to it and seeing what comes out as the better result from that, for sure.
Totally. So I was just thinking, you did mention that you had the guitar background. Do you have any favorite guitar players?
That's a good question. I mean, one person that comes to mind, and I feel like this is the only person I could say is at the same time considered overrated and underrated, would be John Mayer. I think he's, because, you know, he has those songs that were big hits that were really like kind of soft rock, you know, pop records. He's kind of undervalued for his skills as a guitar player, but I think he is just incredible and could play absolutely anything, you know, and just really puts a lot of his soul into his guitar playing, which is super important.
Yeah. What's your favorite song of his? I think Neon is just like an absolute.
I feel like that's everyone's go-to, especially when you're learning to play guitar. Like that's one of the like toughest songs to learn. Yeah. I think for me personally, Stop This Train is really one that always kind of gets me.
Yeah.
And I think that would have to be my favorite.
Yeah, that's certainly an amazing song for sure. Have you Vultures is on that album too, right? Vultures,
yes.
I always thought that was a pretty solid song too, just like chill.
It's a great album, man. Yeah. Especially that era of his work, I just really always enjoyed.
Yeah.
Slow Dancing in a Burning Room, that's another one. I know that's kind of a more popular one too, but I love that song.
It's good. The live version's ridiculous.
I haven't heard that. I need to check that out for sure.
Yeah, it's like at Nokia or something. The Nokia, yeah, it's.
Was it like a tour video kind of thing, like a live, like video kind of thing? Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
I definitely got to check that out for sure.
Have you ever gotten into like these are some of my personal favorites? Have you ever gotten into like the Red Hot Chili Peppers or anything?
Oh yeah, I had a Chili Peppers phase, and I still love them so much. I know they had a couple albums that came out within the past year, and they're still going strong. And John Frusciante came back somewhat recently, so that's always great. And he's another one that's phenomenal, man. Just absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, he's one of those people that like kind of like falls into that like Kanye category where it's like just like his music's just amazing, and then like how like inspiring he is as a person to me is just like
Yeah.
so sick. Cause like he really like he just puts everything he has into music, and like it's really
Hmm.
it's so important to him. I'm like, wow, that's
Oh yeah.
that's so sick.
It's inspirational, you know. It's like it's the guitar is like an extension of him. And I mean the same for Flea and Chad Smith, you know, the drummer. They're just incredible musicians, man. And it shows.
Yeah. Yeah. There's not like they're all like 10 out of 10 musicians that just go
Yep.
absolutely crazy.
And I
Uh,
like Anthony Kiedis too. I feel like he kind of gets some hate sometimes, but Anthony Kiedis is I think the perfect frontman for
I
that
agree.
band. I couldn't imagine it with anyone else.
I totally agree. I totally agree. You got to listen to John Frusciante's podcast with Rick Rubin that he's been doing recently.
Oh man, I didn't
They're
know that was a thing.
Yeah, no,
Ooh,
they're pretty good. It's pretty cool to like they go in pretty deep about like the creative process and all that stuff. And
yeah,
then John Frusciante talks about like some crazy like guitar warm-up technique that he does where it's like
really.
he's playing. I can't even fully wrap my head around it. It's like
Mhm.
he basically he does this practice routine where he like emphasizes notes in like the craziest sequences ever. He'll have like a
Interesting.
16 he'll have like a 16 note sequence, and
Right.
then somewhere in there he's like always making sure that he's emphasizing the notes that like aren't the emphasis of the melody or something. It's
Oh, interesting. So kind of like a syncopated sort of thing. Maybe not like literally that, but like kind of emphasis where you wouldn't expect the emphasis to be, kind of
yeah,
thing. That's
yeah.
really cool. I
It's
that's super cool.
yeah, it's pretty crazy. You got to listen to him talk about it because I'm sure I'm not really capturing the idea perfectly here, but like I
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm getting it from what you're saying, and that I mean, that sounds incredible. And I mean, when you said Rick Rubin and him doing a podcast together, I mean, you sold me there.
yeah,
So I
yeah,
definitely will check that out. Absolutely.
yeah. There's some good stuff in there. So are there any projects that you're working on at the moment that you're excited
Yeah,
about?
so I actually have a single coming out January 20th, called Goodbye. And that's under the Penn Moss name. It's going to be a lo-fi instrumental single. And I did start shopping that around to different blogs and playlists and stuff. So yeah, that'll be coming out in a couple weeks, and really just like a lo-fi chill kind of vibe. Um, you know, not much else to say about it. It's a sample that I chopped up and came up with this really cool loop and ended up building like a whole track around it. Beyond that, I do want to start actually releasing my own music again under my real name, you know, making pop records, which is what I was doing like a few years back. And the more I've been away from that, the more I realize that that's really what I love doing.
Mhm.
So I'm going to try to get to a point where I could release like a single a month or something.
Yeah,
I think that would be the goal. So yeah,
totally.
hopefully that'll be going on in the near future for that for sure.
Yeah, totally. Have you checked out the whole like Facebook, Instagram ad sides of things for marketing?
Yeah. Yeah, I know that's super popular. And there's a lot of great YouTubers that kind of, you know, walk you through that process.
Mhm.
And it's such an amazing tool. I used Instagram ads a bit, didn't really dive too much into Facebook ads, but I definitely am aware of it. I know they're hand in hand together. But I think it's such a great tool to utilize. And you know, there's so much growth that you can gain from it if you do it the right way for sure.
Yeah, totally. That's what I'm hoping to kind of implement this next year. Like I actually have a song coming out
Yeah.
the same day, January
Oh
20th.
no way.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll go pre-save it.
Dope. Thank you. That would be
Yeah,
great.
yeah.
That'd be great.
Of
I
course.
actually, speaking of pre-saves, I was doing a marketing campaign for the pre-saves, but like the thing is like to get people to pre-save it, like they have to sign into Spotify and type in all this
It's
stuff.
not easy. It's
Yeah.
not
So
just
it's
like a
like
one button click, which is
exactly.
it's a pain. But yeah, I will definitely pre-save it. What else do you have working on? Are you any more singles coming up after that?
Yeah, so I have another basically I have that song, and then I have another song that's pretty much done that I'm planning on releasing in February. I have to get that mixed, and then that should be good to go. I have I have a bunch of songs that I think are pretty good. I'm at the
Hmm.
point now where I'm not sure how I want to approach the release strategy because
Yeah.
I want to release songs that I don't think are absolute tens. You know what I mean?
Mm,
Like because these the song that I'm releasing and then that other song I'm like confident in. I'm like I
kind of
really
set on them.
like
Yeah,
I'm proud of those songs, but like I have other songs that I'm like I like this, but it's a little bit below those other songs. And
I
so
totally get what you're saying. Yeah,
yeah,
and I think that's such a big dilemma with everyone, you know, is you don't want to release something before you know it's like absolutely at the same point or not better than your prior release. You know, you don't want to be going backwards. And Totally get that. And I know, especially today, I feel like it's so much more quantity over quality. I don't know if you agree with that, but I feel like that's been preached a lot lately, being that, content is being created so quickly, and songs are being churned out so often that, the shelf time of them is so small, that it's more so about how much of a catalog you can build, as opposed to, just straight having 3 songs that are amazing. I
Yeah.
feel like it's kind of been going in that direction lately. And I don't know if I necessarily agree with it, but I feel like lately that's been the thing, where it's more so just throwing stuff out there and seeing what happens.
Yeah, that definitely seems to be the message. Like there's people on my TikTok comments saying like you got to be people have said like you should release a song like every 2 weeks.
Yeah, which I think
That's
is a little
that's
intense.
crazy. I'm like
Yeah.
I could never get
No.
that done, you know what I mean? And with at
No.
least like even like decent results, you know what I mean? The
Yeah,
song
I
is
mean,
so forced.
exactly. I think if you really wanted to, you could put out a song every 2 weeks, but it kind of goes into that quantity over quality aspect. Like, how good is it going to be in that short of a span? And I think that's for anybody. I don't think anybody could make something incredible in a 2 week span.
Yeah,
Consistently
totally.
every 2 weeks.
Mm,
I don't think that's possible, no matter how good you are.
totally. Let me know what you think about this. So, how would you feel if you had a song that it wasn't your favorite, but it resonated the most with people?
Hmm.
Because I feel like
I
that's like weird. You know, it's like, oh,
Yeah, yeah.
what? Like,
I think that kind of goes into, different perspectives with music as well, especially, from your end as well, kind of making it all on your own. You're kind of only seeing it from your perspective. When you put it out into the world, it might not be something that was your favorite, but, for whatever reason, it's everyone else's favorite. And I feel like it's almost like a cliche. I feel like that happens a lot.
mhm,
Which, when you kind of mentioned that, when there were some songs that you said weren't like at that 10 level, like prior ones, for other people, it could be reversed, and they might be like,
right.
oh, this is his best one,
Exactly.
not the one that you think is your best one.
Exactly.
So for me, I think if there's any song that has success and people resonate with it, and it might not particularly be my favorite that I've made, I'd be totally cool with that. And
Yeah.
I think that's the point of it. Once you throw it out into the world, it's kind of there for display for everyone to have their opinions on.
Hmm. That's totally true.
Yeah.
That's totally. I should definitely embrace that more. That might be
Yeah.
like really pushes me to put out these other songs. Because like
Yeah.
even though they might not be my favorite, and it's like it's not like, oh, I was so intentional about this and then it clicked with people and then that would be perfect. But like
Yeah.
it's just like, hey, it wasn't my favorite, but it worked. It's like that's a win you got,
Right.
you
Of
know?
course,
Yeah.
because at the end of the day, you're making it for yourself, but also when you throw it into the world, it's for everyone else. So if other people are liking it and it might not be your favorite, I mean, you've done your job.
Yeah. Totally.
I think that's a
Totally.
good way to look at it.
Yeah, that's a really good perspective. I like that a lot. I certainly like that.
Yeah.
Cool. So let's see. I mean, I guess I pretty much covered everything that I wanted to cover in
Yeah.
this. Do you have anything else that you'd like to throw on the table?
Ooh, let's see. So, I mean, we kind of went into stuff I've been working on. Like I said, I think after this single coming out on the 20th, called Goodbye, under the name Penn Moss. And by the name, just a quick story about how I got the name Penn Moss. I'm a big sports fan. So Penny Hardaway is my favorite basketball player, and Randy Moss is my favorite football player. So I kind
Gotcha.
of put those together to come up with the name. But yeah, that single's coming out, and that's going to be a lo-fi instrumental. But after that, yeah, I think I want to dive back into pop production and releasing songs under my own name. And for you, I mean, have you thought about production for other artists and potentially collaborating that way?
People have actually been reaching out to me about that. I got actually
That's
like two
great.
people this week saying like, "Oh, we should work on something together. We should make beats together." And
Yeah.
I'm like, totally, totally.
Yeah,
That could be cool. You know what I mean? And then
of course.
that would be a good way to just network and then also just enhance your skills from getting other
Yeah.
perspectives.
I mean, while we're on the topic, if you'd want to collab on something, I'm 100% down. So
Yeah, man, that
always
would be
down for
great.
that.
That would be
Yeah.
great.
And I think collaboration is such a key part of music too. So I think networking, like you said, is such a huge factor as well with building up a career,
Mhm.
from whatever you want it to be, for
Yeah.
sure.
How do you what's your philosophy going into that? Because I've kind of struggled back and forth with the whole networking thing where it's like
Mm,
you don't want to like it feels a bit sleazy at times. Do you get
Yeah.
what I mean by that?
No, I 100% agree with that. And I think ultimately that's kind of been my downfall. Even back when I was in high school and college, I always made beats and created music, but I never really told anyone about it. I always felt like it would either be kind of me bragging, or am I allowed to curse, or is that
Yeah,
cool?
no, that's cool.
Okay.
Okay.
I was gonna say I don't want to come off like a douchebag,
Yeah,
like, oh yeah, I make music, this and that.
yeah,
And but by not sharing that, you're kind of missing out on opportunities to network with other musicians and things like that. And you know, I totally agree with the aspect too of hitting someone in their DMs like, hey, we should collab. They have no idea who you are. I think it's the approach you take and really sort of formulating a real relationship with these
mhm,
people that you're working with, as opposed to just kind of cold calling and sending emails like, hey, we should work together just because, you know.
yeah, yeah. It's like
Yeah.
for me, the thing that kind of helps me with it is like, um, trying to approach it from like a win-win perspective. You know what
Hmm.
I mean? Where it's like, I see like a good opportunity here where maybe we could help each other out. We could help each other
Yeah,
with content, boosting each other's profiles, getting exposure and stuff like that.
exactly.
And then just being straight up and not trying to like completely be like fraudulent. You know what I
Yes.
mean?
Yes.
It feels weird, you know?
No, yeah. I think that's the key, is being genuine. I think that
Yeah.
really and I think you highlighted that perfectly. It comes down to being genuine, where it's a collaboration that is going to suit both people, equally,
Mhm.
where there's something to gain from both ends. And yeah, I totally agree with that 100%. I think it's all about that, and not trying to take advantage of someone in
Totally.
a situation with a collaboration.
Totally. Totally. I
Yeah.
completely agree with that. Yeah, that's been like a hang up for me. It's like even like,
Yeah.
my sister, she knows some people in music, and she's like, "Oh, we got to connect with these people." And I'm like, "It seems kind of weird." But like
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah.
it's like it's par for the course, you know?
Of course.
And
And
then
I feel the same way with that for sure.
mhm. And
But at
then
the same time, I feel like if you do have those opportunities, you shouldn't feel bad about taking them, because I think even more so, it's been exposed so much more of like the nepotism aspect of, the business, and not even the music business, but kind of everything. I mean, I feel like even in like a regular job, a lot of people that end up getting their job is through a connection from
oh,
someone they know.
totally.
It comes a lot more so down to who you know as opposed to what you know.
Yeah.
So I think if those resources are there, you shouldn't feel bad about taking them at all. I
Yeah,
think it's
totally.
it's it's a good opportunity for sure.
Yeah. And then that's so true. And then something else that I heard is like, people like want to help.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah,
That's something that kind of took a bit of a weight off my shoulders too. Is like some people in that like could offer like advice or like guidance in some sort of way. Like those people, they want to do it.
yeah.
So it's
And
like,
I
okay,
know it feels like you're kind of afraid that they might not want to,
yeah,
it's the opposite. But it's amazing, like some people that you might approach that are willing to go, above and beyond to help you with any questions you might have, or send you in the right direction and stuff
hmm
like that. Yeah,
totally, for sure, for sure. Yeah. So I guess I would love to do a collaboration.
yeah.
That sounds
Please,
like a great time. That sounds like a great time. I'd
absolutely.
love to like stay in touch. Um,
Please, yeah, we could email. Just yeah, we'll throw some ideas out there, see what we want to come up with. But yeah, I'm 100% down for that.
for sure, for sure. So I guess we're pretty much good. I think we've covered the topics that we wanted to cover in this episode.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts?
No, other than just saying, I really appreciate you reaching out to me about this, and it was such a pleasure, talking with you. Liam,
Yeah,
I
feelings mutual.
totally, yeah, I feel like you really get it, and I know you said you've only been in the process for a year, but I feel like the mentality you have and everything is wise beyond the years of 1 year of experience in this. So I
That's so
think,
great to hear.
yeah, and I think you got the right approach, and I'm really honored to have this conversation with you, and appreciate it.
Yeah, dude, I was so glad you came on. I had an absolute blast. It seemed like I was so like I could tell like a lot of times like I would say something and I could tell in your face you're like, oh, like I get that,
Yeah,
like it's
yeah,
like yeah, I'm
yeah,
like
definitely on the same wavelength for sure.
totally, totally. Yeah, so I guess that'll be episode 3 for this. I just want to say a huge thank you for coming on, and
Yeah, of
I'll
course.
totally be in touch, man. You'll be hearing
Awesome.
from me soon, all right?
Yeah, sounds good. Well, I hope you enjoy the rest of your Saturday. And like I said, been a pleasure, man.
Yeah,
And yeah, definitely talk to you soon about collabing for
you
sure.
too.
All right, brother. Have a good one.
You too.